Hi, it's Bryony here. I just want to weigh in on what's happening in the world at the moment in relation to my work and what I'm feeling and what I'm seeing and the rabbit holes I've been going down. Um, I want to place in the space that for far too long we have been hoodwinked. We've been led to believe that our way of life, our culture, the West is liberated, is free, is democratic, is that the governments and the systems that we have been cultured in and grown in and led by have had our best interests at heart. And in light of what has been happening for a number of years now, that has been really clear. Though some fringe dwellers have said this for a long time, or kind of people that we've sort of, put down as conspiracy theorists have been saying for a long while, that that's not the case. My eyes were opened about 5 years ago when I was shown, or a doorway was open, a window was open into what was happening behind the scenes across the world in the global climate, in and around the pedophile ring that's been running the world. I didn't want to believe it then. I did not want to believe that this was actually what was happening in our world to our children, and I did not want to believe the agenda of what was going on. Now, I walk with conspiracy theories because I live in an area where that's quite alive and thriving. I walk in that space quite carefully. But everything that was expressed to me 5 years ago has been founded to be true through the release of the Epstein Files and the genocide of the Palestinians, and having what people don't understand is an insider view or an insider pathway into what's happening in the global climate because of connections I have through different organizations across the world. The reality is that we have been cultured in a soup of oppression and violence. We've been cultured to turn away from. We have been cultured to, being a white-skinned woman, to enjoy the privilege of my skin color and the privilege of living in Australia. And that is not where I'm sitting, and that's not where I've been sitting for a very long time. And it has so much of what's happening in the global climate and the global and nationally as well in Australia has opened my eyes to the fact that we're not immune, the fact that we have been sitting and in a soup of something rotten in the world that has been running through the oppression and violence and horrific consequences to those that are most vulnerable in our communities and our children. And what I want to say here is that I'm posting a lot about this. And it's not to traumatize you. It's not to create fear in you, because that's what they want us to believe as well. Like that if we post this sort of stuff, if we keep this narrative going, that it creates division in our community. And to a point, yes, it does. And it's discernment that each person needs to take. But we need to start looking at what is here, what is happening. And we have the resources and the privilege and the scope to be able to be with what is happening in the world and tend to our own system. This is a reality. We have the community and the resources and the tools to turn towards or find the people in order to soothe our nervous system, in order to get some clarity, in order to get some ground and anchoring, in order to know where we sit in relation to these situations and what is happening on a global scale that we're all impacted by. We are all impacted by what we're watching with the genocide of the Palestinians, to what the IDF are doing, to what is happening with ICE, what is happening in America, and what is happening even in the laws in Australia in and around our democratic right to protest since the Bondi shootings. this is going to be at our doorstep. This is coming to our doorstep, and it is coming quickly. And I've been saying this since the genocide. It is all interconnected. It is now, with the Epstein Files, just opened it all, and everything is connecting in. Everything that I learned about 5 years ago that I went, no, that can't possibly be right. Fuck, it's here. It was right. I should have listened then. I didn't. And now it's all interconnecting. It's all, the dots are all joining up. And we need to, as a collective, not allow this to divide us. We need to turn and see the monsters for where they're at and the evil for where it's coming from. And it needs to be rooted out, right? It needs to be rooted out. It needs to be cut out, dug out. And these people need to be held, and these systems of oppression and violence need to be held accountable. And the only way we can do that is if we become informed, is if we learn, as if we grow within ourselves, as if we learn and culture our systems to meet the horrors of the times. That is the only way we get through this. This is the only way, is straight through the guts. And yes, it's scary. And yes, it's sad. I spent all day in bed yesterday going down all the holes and feeling the grief, not just of my own personal experience, but of the globe. We need to tend to our systems. We need to get really clear with our community and who we are, and we need to get really clear on which side we sit in this. If we can't face the reality of what's happening in the world to our children, to our most vulnerable in the community, then as Australians, this is going to be at our doorstep. This is going to be at our doorstep. I know that you don't think that the likes of Pauline Hanson can get in, but the percentage that I've read about of preference for Pauline Hanson being the leader of this country is growing. It's growing. And if you don't want a government that's aligned with Trump, because we've got a government right now that very much in a lot of areas is aligned. If you don't stand up right now and start to look at this, we are going to have a Pauline Hanson in our government. This is going to be at our doorstep. It's going to be at our doorstep before you know it. It's at our doorstep now. For those of you who don't think the work that I do, the arts, because I see myself as a creative as well as alternative, as well as spiritual, if you don't think spirituality and wellness, that I have any business in politics, then you are sorely mistaken. Everyone has a business. Everyone has business at meeting what is happening in the world right now. What is happening in America, what is happening in the UK, what is happening to the Palestinians, what is happening in Europe, like it is what is happening in Australia. It all feeds in. It all feeds into this system. It all has a roll-on effect. And it is really important that as we move in this space, particularly in this public space, particularly in our communities, that we bring light, that we bring pathways, that we bring expression to what the fuck is happening in the world right now. It is more crucial than ever to make it our business in every possible industry, because this is going to impact every industry. This is going to impact every person, and every person needs to be invested in what the fuck is going on in the world and need to actionate within themselves what it is to protect our most vulnerable in our community, particularly our children, particularly our Indigenous people, particularly the land, particularly those that cannot speak and stand up for themselves. This is coming, this is here, and we need to start to turn towards, tend to our system, find the resource, the community, all the pathways in order to stoke and scaffold where we're at, and work through what this means in our bodies, what this means in our emotional system, what this means and how it links to our past, our ancestors. We need to now stand up, and we need to be the revolution, and we need to be that person that's going to save us, because as a collective, we are a force when we stand shoulder to shoulder. But if you have any wiggle room in your life right now to turn away from, then you may as well be, propping up the perpetrators, propping up the systems of rot, propping up the violence and oppression. We cannot afford right now to turn away from. We cannot afford to turn away from. Because if you continue to turn away from, the people that are standing up for you now won't be there to actionate when it comes for you and your children. You need to turn towards, you need to get really clear, you need to be educated, you need to look at this, and you need to start to track this in your body and start to build some support systems and ways in how to deal with what is happening in the world, because it's just going to get closer, it's going to get more intense, chaotic, it's going to get more confusing, it's going to come for your children, it's going to come for your grandchildren, it's going to come from for the land and all the places and spaces that you have built that you think are secure and safe. They are not. They are not. They were all created from this system of illusion and this ideology, that the ideology is crumbling, is fracturing. And you look at what's happening in America right now with ICE. That's coming. That is coming for us. They're even talking about the IDF training police after the Bondi shootings. Where do you think ICE, who do you think ICE has been trained by? Like, seriously, get your head out of the sand, turn towards what is happening. This shit's getting real, and you've got to actionate. You've got to bring awareness to what is happening in the world, and you've got to tend to your system, and you've got to stand up and say, no, not in my name, no, before it's too late, because we are getting to the crunch point where it's going to be too fucking late.